wants to avoid injury to himself. So if you can self-grab, not this, but self-grab this way. I was going to get a tactical hand fart, missed it. Like this, again, 5-year-olds, love that. Like this, like this. I try to avoid this unless I'm fighting Klingons. Yeah, because you'll generally hurt your fingers if you fall, right? If you go to flinch. You can actually self-grip. So I just want to go like this. So this way right away, if I'm very tight like that, and I can imagine I'm tethered at the elbows, that's all I need. It'll start to create a little bit less strain on my wrist when I move and reduce the cutting, because you'll be cutting yourself, even training this lightly in class. Yeah, so one person gets tied up by person 2. Get ready. Tie them up, and we proceed with the exact same drill we just did, which is kicking them, pushing them, roughing up their hair, throwing them down, and getting them used to dealing with actual restraint. Enjoy it all at once in one spot, and be sure to leave a stain. We have our arm screw, right? Our basic arm screw is normally trying to avoid the fingers and going onto the wrist, and immediately from the wrist, tucking the elbow in, right? So one that's really good to work on is the combined arm screw. So I have my hand in either position, and as I go down, I like that. So this way, I can do it even if I always tether. I try to take off as much strain as possible, so I stay tight like that. That's it. Makes sense? So you can use that to get up. Even if I was being like choked in the snow or a puddle or shallow water, whatever the case is, if I go onto one side and I unscrew, I have more push. And if I do that at the same time as bringing my legs under, so I can tent up. So if you have someone punching you down like that, you get onto one side, screw, and use that to push back. Right? Exactly like you would if someone was trying to choke you, and they had you flattened out like that. I try not to get up like that. It puts too much strain. I bring my hands underneath, push back, and then from there, get up and take an ear off, or whatever the case is. Yeah. So try that one. Combined screw, not as glorious as it sounds, but so very simple progression. We have enough space in here with the group that you'll be able to roll freely and not be too worried about smashing each other. We'll now tether our opponent, our subject, our partner, our buddy, our victim in the back. So if they're able to go back to back, you're going to see the wrists in most cases, don't naturally want to touch. So it has to be pulled a little bit. If that's too much, you can do it wrist over wrist like that. It's a little bit less demanding on the arms themselves, a bit more on the shoulder. But you see if you can handle it. You're not going to be there that long. You'll be tethered there. Again, any position that you're in, you'd like to cross grip. So this is probably the worst one, because if it's super tight, you may not be able to reach over. This is about the only case that I might hook a finger, especially if you're tied with wire or if it's tie wraps and if you're really bleeding and that pain is distracting you. Sometimes when you do this for long periods of time, we once did it in training for a 3-hour period, same person tethered, but it was a little bit dangerous because after a lot of pulled shoulders, but it does start to cut, you start to bleed. And sometimes even though you're not really getting more injured 1 second from 1 second to another, it starts to take your focus and you start to feel it, you start to feel weak and you're only thinking of the wrist. So it can be as simple as just hooking a finger over to kind of realign your shoulders, squeeze your shoulder blades together, activate your sternum more, correct your posture, and it gives you the impression, it temporarily takes pressure off there and gives you the impression you're getting less injured, lets you focus on something else, lets you take charge of it. So it can be that simple. In most other conditions or circumstances, you'll be able to grip. If you're duct taped, for example, this is a very common duct taping position. Here, they may duct tape you like that, but then there's not as much strain on the body. Usually it's not just the hands, they're going to go up on the wrist and pull those shoulders together. So the shoulders will already be strained and pulled, but you're not getting cut per se. Cross grabbing is more to protect you from the cutting on the immediate local area. The shoulders getting pulled, really it's more about activating the sternum, keeping the shoulder blades together, and not fighting against it. But that's it. So we're going to tether them up in the back. You'll each have your own pillowcase. You're just feeling what's there. Really bad. Relaxing. That's it. And enjoying it. Taking it easy, taking it slow. If ever it's too much, just say, okay, I need to stop. take the bag off my head, can you untie my wrist, speak to him. And if you're the interrogator, the horrible terrorist, or whatever you're playing, you want to make sure that you listen to them in this, because it's just a training drill at this point. Yeah, all right, enjoy it. That's right. Seconds. Okay, guys, take a breath. So this is what we'll be doing on our next phase. We'll be switching again, tethered behind the back, bag on the head. If you, as an individual, do not feel that you can handle it behind the back again because you're really getting sore or it's hurting too much, you can request it to be in front. If you think you can take it one more in the back, you take it behind the back. If you think you can handle having the pillowcase tucked into your shirt, if you have a t-shirt, if you don't, you can tether it. But if you feel comfortable saying that, then you tuck it under, if you can, yeah? To see if you can handle it. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna be a little bit rougher. So when we push someone, rather than giving them necessarily always the slow push, I wanna give them some of these in between. So there's not always the opportunity to do a full roll. Sometimes you'll be getting pushed and realistically when you're surprised you're just going to move a little bit, and other times you'll go to move a little bit and you'll fall suddenly after the fact. That happens too. And you may be trying to get up, but he may still be pushing you, he may be rubbing you with the foot. So it's all just to emulate the shock and the type of energy you're going to get. In a real situation, you could be getting hard kicks that are breaking your ribs. There's no value in doing that in training. We're just trying to get used to it slowly so that this becomes less stressful. If at any point the training becomes so stressful we start to feel helpless and we don't have the opportunity to recover, now we're traumatizing ourselves and we're no longer preparing ourselves. So we want to make sure the training is something I'm going to handle. If at any point you want to stop, always give verbal signals saying, okay, I just need a break. And a good thing to do as a unified signal, just stomp the floor like that, right? So anytime you're doing this, it means that the person, you're not hearing them, okay, stop. Because sometimes you don't have enough volume, breath isn't coming out, you're panicking, you're starting to have a panic attack. What's the first thing we take off? Rope or the bag? Bag. Take the bag off right away, let them breathe, let them see, yeah? And if anybody starts to have eyes rolling back or freaking out, just keep them steady, keep them up, talk to them, stay behind them, because sometimes people freak out, yeah? Anything from this point on can make anyone snap. Cry, scream, freak out, bite your ear, anything, yeah? So it doesn't mean that you had to necessarily be in a bad circumstance. Could have been something you saw in a movie when you were 3 years old that scarred you. It could be a fear you've always held for some reason. It becomes actualized in the training. So just be respectful of your partner.